Beyond the Gate spoilers tease that Catherine "Cat" Richardson will be furious when she finds Tomas "Tom" Navarro in bed with Eva Thomas. The build-up to this betrayal had layers of emotional nuance and tension that made the moment of revelation all the more devastating. Cat had always been the kind of woman who held back. She carried her trust like fragile porcelain, shaped by a childhood of watching promises break and people leave. When Tom entered her life, he wasn't just a potential partner. He was her test of faith. Her decision to let him in was cautious, methodical, but real. She had spent weeks building the courage to invite him into her apartment, into her space, and into her trust. The night they almost made love wasn't a failure, it was a confession. Cat, nervous and vulnerable, had finally removed her emotional armor. Tom, sensing her unease, had stopped the moment she hesitated. He held her hands, looked her in the eyes, and told her he would only take things further when she was completely ready. That night, she slept next to him, still clothed, but feeling safer than she had in years. That moment carved a belief into Kat's heart. Tom was different. What she didn't know was that Tom had been playing another game. Eva Thomas, her longtime friend and creative partner in their digital horror channel, had always been the wild card. Charismatic, uninhibited, and fiercely independent, Eva shared a different kind of chemistry with Tom: raw, electric, and impulsive. While Kat's bond with Tom was quiet and contemplative, Eva's was laced with jokes, smirks, and the kind of teasing that always bordered on flirtation. It was something Kat had noticed, but brushed off. After all, Eva was her friend. Tom was her boyfriend. She trusted them. Tom, however, had blurred lines from the start. He told Kat that Eva was like a sister to him, someone he respected but never desired. He even made a show of dodging Eva's advances when Kat was around. In hindsight, it was a performance too perfect to be genuine. He knew what Kat wanted to believe, and he fed her that narrative with just enough sincerity to keep her loyal. The truth unraveled on a Sunday. Kat had left her apartment early to grab coffee for the team. They were editing the latest Beyond the Gates video, and she wanted to surprise them with breakfast. The sound of laughter from her bedroom, barely muffled by the closed door, stopped her in her tracks when she returned. She knew that laugh. Eva's. Curiosity turned to dread as she pushed open the door. Tom and Eva, tangled in the sheets, their clothes scattered on the floor. They froze. Eva's expression was a mix of guilt and defiance, Tom's a stuttering attempt at damage control. Kat didn't scream. She didn't cry. She walked over, raised her hand, and slapped Tom with every ounce of betrayal coursing through her veins. Tom tried to explain. He said it was a mistake. He claimed it didn't mean anything. That he still loved Kat. But she wasn't listening. That slap wasn't just a punishment. It was a period at the end of their story. In the days that followed, Kat's world shifted. The digital horror channel that had been her escape now felt like a haunted house of its own. Every piece of footage reminded her of Tom's presence, Eva's laughter, and her own gullibility. She deleted old videos. She rewrote scripts. She tried to erase their fingerprints from her work, but the betrayal echoed in every corner. Eva reached out. Her apology was half-hearted, more focused on how bad she felt than what she had actually done. Kat didn't respond. She blocked Tom's number. She shut down their shared editing folder. She buried herself in solo projects, trying to reclaim the channel as hers alone. What Kat didn't anticipate was how the fans would react. The Beyond the Gates community had grown attached to the trio. They noticed when Tom disappeared from the videos. They asked why Eva was missing. Speculation flooded the comment sections. Kat ignored it for a while, but silence breeds rumors, and rumors fuel fire. Eventually, she addressed it. In a raw, unscripted video, Kat sat on her couch and told the truth. Not all the messy details, but enough to draw the line. Tom and Eva were no longer part of Beyond the Gates. They had made choices that broke trust, and the channel would move forward without them. The video went viral. Most fans rallied behind her. They admired her honesty, her composure. Others accused her of airing dirty laundry. But Kat didn't care. The point wasn't the views. It was the control. She had lost control of her relationship, her friendships, even her sense of stability. That video gave her back a piece of herself. As weeks turned to months, Kat began to rebuild. She brought in new collaborators, people she vetted, people who understood boundaries. The tone of Beyond the Gates shifted. It became darker, more introspective. Kat started exploring themes of betrayal, trust, and the horrors that live within people, not just monsters on screen. Ironically, the heartbreak made her content better, more real. Tom, on the other hand, struggled. His attempts to start his own horror channel flopped. The fanbase didn't follow. His betrayal had left a sour taste. Eva went silent online, her influencer image tarnished. Without the energy of the trio, she faded into digital obscurity. One night, Kat received an anonymous email. No subject line. No message body. Just a link. It led to a video. Grainy. Filmed in a dark room. Tom, alone, talking to the camera. He looked tired, thinner, eyes sunken. He spoke of guilt. Of how he had sabotaged something pure. How he didn't know who he was anymore. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just talked. Like it was the only way to bleed out the poison. Kat watched it once. She didn't respond. She deleted the email. Because closure doesn't always come with apologies. Sometimes it comes from choosing not to reopen the wound. But the shadows around Kat were changing. Strange glitches in her footage. Whispering sounds buried in audio tracks. Objects moving subtly in the background of her recordings. At first, she thought it was just stress. But when her viewers began pointing it out, asking if it was a new Yargy or horror segment, Kat realized something deeper was at play. She reviewed the raw files. Nothing edited. Nothing added. Then came the voice. A single phrase, whispered low, distorted like a bad signal. He opened the wrong gate. Kat remembered a conversation from months ago. Before the fallout. Tom had been obsessed with an abandoned VHS tape they received from a fan. It wasn't marked. No label. Just a handwritten note. Watch it alone. Tom had insisted it was perfect for their next episode. But Kat had felt uneasy. The footage was warped. The imagery disturbing in a way that didn't feel fictional. Faces with no eyes. Hallways that looped. Timestamps that ran backward. After the breakup, she had forgotten about it. Or tried to. Now it was resurfacing. The voices grew louder. Her sleep fragmented. The house felt colder. One night, her camera turned on by itself. No one touched it. And in the playback, she wasn't alone. Kat stared at the screen, heart racing. Behind her, barely visible, was a figure. Thin. Faceless. Standing still. It didn't move. She turned around. Nothing there. But the feeling lingered. Whatever Tom had done, whatever gate he had opened at it, hadn't just cost them their relationships. It had let something in. And now it wanted her attention. Kat was done being betrayed by people. But she wasn't ready to be haunted by whatever lay beyond the tape. The next step wasn't moving on. It was finding out what Tom had unleashed before it consumed everything she had rebuilt. She dusted off the old hard drive, found the folder marked Do Not Open, and clicked. It began with static. Then came the scream. The screen flickered once, then again, before settling into a steady but eerie feed. Catherine "Kat" Richardson sat frozen in front of her laptop, her face lit by the sickly glow of corrupted footage. The scream had ended, but in its place, a pulsing drone buzzed through the speakers, low, guttural, unnatural. She kept watching. The frame showed a room dim, windowless, with pale walls stained at the edges. Tom was in the center, not looking at the camera, but at something off-screen. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Then a shift of frame glitch, and suddenly, behind him, was the same faceless figure from her recording. Just standing there. Kat's stomach turned. This wasn't post-production magic. It felt alive. She reached out to close the file, but the cursor refused to move. Her mouse was dead. The keyboard unresponsive. Then her screen went black. And in the dark, the drone buzz grew louder. She slammed the laptop shut. Silence. Kat stood, the air in her apartment heavy. Her own breath echoed too loud in her ears. Something was bleeding through that footage, not metaphor, not symbolism, something real. She hadn't spoken to Eva Thomas since the fallout. But if anyone knew what Tom had been digging into before their betrayal, it was Eva. Kat didn't want to call her. She didn't want to hear her voice. But wanting no longer mattered. What they had started together had cracked open something neither of them understood. Kat sent a single message, "Need to talk. Urgent." About the tape. Eva replied within 5 minutes. "I was hoping you wouldn't ask." They met at the old studio space they once shared, now half abandoned and stripped of most gear. Eva looked thinner, paler. Her trademark spark was dulled. "I told him not to play it," Eva said, lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. "The day it arrived, I told him it felt wrong. You remember that box we got from that fan, the one with no return address? Tom said it was gold, said it was exactly what Beyond the Gates needed. He watched it alone that night. Next morning, he was different." Different how? Kat asked, though she suspected she already knew. "He kept staring into nothing. Said he saw things in the corners. He started editing footage that didn't exist. One time, I walked into the studio and he was just whispering to himself. Repeating the phrase, not a gate. A passage. They walked through it." Eva exhaled smoke slowly. "I thought he was losing it. Turns out, he was just opening the door wider." Kat leaned forward. "Do you still have the original tape?" "No. He burned it after uploading a digital rip. Said it was safer that way." Kat swallowed. He was wrong. They watched the file together that night, on a computer with no internet, no access to their cloud servers. Isolation was their only safety net. What they saw changed them both. The video's final minute was different than the one Kat had watched earlier. It had updated somehow. Now, instead of Tom in the room, there was just the figure. It moved this time. Slowly toward the screen, pixel by pixel, step by step. Then the frame glitched out. They shut it off. Too late. By morning, Eva was missing. Kat tried to rationalize it. Maybe Eva left voluntarily, too disturbed to continue. Maybe she'd run. But in her gut, Kat knew better. Eva hadn't left. She had been taken. Kat revisited the footage. Frame by frame. Searching. At 42:13, a flicker in the background barely perceptible, but there. Eva's reflection in the screen with the faceless figure behind her. A freeze frame confirmed it. She had been marked. Kat felt cold seep into her bones. She needed answers, not from memories, but from Tom himself. He hadn't been active online for months. His last known address was a motel outside the city. She drove there alone, hoping he was still alive. Tom opened the door after 3 knocks. He looked like a ghost. Greasy hair, dark circles, hands trembling. "I told you to never come here," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know what you did," she said. "And it's not over." Eva's gone. Tom's face collapsed. He didn't ask how. He already knew. "They don't just show up in the tape," he said. "They follow those who see. Who believe." Kat stepped inside. The room smelled like mildew and ash. Every mirror was covered. Notes were taped to the walls. Scribbled diagrams of doors, symbols, and cryptic instructions. One said, "Close it before it completes the loop." "What loop?" Kat asked. Tom took out a flash drive and handed it to her. "Everything I learned. The entity is not from our world. It's older than us. It doesn't kill. It trades. You give it memory, it gives you presence. That's why it used the footage. Every viewer is a key." Kat gritted her teeth. "So by broadcasting the episode, we gave it 1,000 keys." The realization made her knees weak. Beyond the Gates wasn't just haunted, it had become a beacon. Tom looked at her with empty eyes. "I tried to warn you. But after what I did, I knew you wouldn't listen." "No," she said, "because you pretended to care while sleeping with Eva." He didn't argue. Kat spent the next days locked in her apartment, dissecting every second of the flash drive. The notes described an entity called the Watcher Beyond. Once summoned, it tethered itself to the most emotionally raw subject in the footage. Pain was its tether. Betrayal, its food. It fed on her. That's why it chose her. She was the center of the emotional rupture. Not Tom. Not Eva. Kat. She had one chance to sever the bond, a memory reversal ritual essentially, to reconstruct the betrayal in reverse, rendering the Watcher's attachment inert. But it required three things. The original setting of the betrayal. Both betrayer and betrayed present. A willing sacrifice. Kat didn't need to ask who the sacrifice was. She called Tom. Meet me at the old apartment. Tomorrow night. He agreed. The apartment was cold when she entered. Dust clung to the furniture. The bedroom where she had found them was untouched since the day she left. She lit candles. Placed cameras in all corners. The ritual had to be recorded. Tom arrived just before midnight. They stood in the doorway of the bedroom, silent. Kat walked in first, then gestured for him to follow. They sat on opposite ends of the bed. "This is where you broke me," she said. "So this is where you pay." He didn't flinch. She read aloud from the transcript on the flash drive Latin phrases, reversed audio cues, names of the Watcher etched in phonetic codes. The air thickened. The walls trembled slightly, like something was waking up inside them. Then came the final phrase. Tom looked at her. "It wants a sacrifice. You don't have to do this." "I'm not." She stood. "I already gave it mine." Behind Tom, a figure appeared. Eva. Or something shaped like her. Kat whispered, "She's not gone. She was traded. But if I break the loop." The figure lunged forward. The camera feed burst into static. At 3:33 a.m., the footage resumed. Kat stood alone in the room, the bed empty. No sign of Tom. No sign of Eva. She walked to the camera, picked it up, and smiled. The Watcher had been fed. But the loop had changed. Now it was tethered to someone else. Someone who had faced betrayal, pain, and survived. Someone who now knew its rules. Kat turned the camera on herself. "This is beyond the gates," she said. "And I'm the one who holds the key now." The screen faded to black. And somewhere far from the reach of digital signals, a new gate began to open.